Hello and welcome to Flory Models Kit Review Time. Today we've got Hobby Boss brand new release. This is the 1/48 scale F-18E Super Hornet, also known as the Echo. Now, talk about buses, and we often find this with the hobby. You don't get any for ages, and let's face it, literally all we had was a slightly dodgy Revell 48 scale Hornet, an Italeri one that is, to be honest, not a real Hornet anyway because it's a prototype. And then obviously you've got the beautiful, and I must admit I've built a lot of them and it is actually a very nice kit, although it has got its little problems. Again, it's a very early one. It's the Hasegawa 1/48 scale Hornet. Then all of a sudden, let's face it, Meng turned up with one, which we reviewed a couple of months ago, and now Hobby Boss have turned up one. Now, I'm not saying this is maybe to do with a certain film that's coming out, as in Top Gun 2 or Maverick and all the rest of it, because clearly this is what he flies, and perhaps they're trying to cash in. Let's face it, why not? But it does seem to be a little bit of a coincidence that all of these aircraft are suddenly coming along all together. I have to say, as a particular sort of Hornet fan, as you know, I don't think it's a bad thing. But anyway, we're not sure about this kit, so we'll have a good look at it and then we can see exactly how it stacks up with the new breed of F-18 Hornets that we've got going. So, as you can see, that sort of standard Hobby Boss type of drawn imagery on the front. To be honest, it doesn't look too bad. And you've got VFA 31, obviously the Tomcat is down in there, probably one of the most famous Tomcat squadrons, let alone Hornet squadrons, as you can see, very nice there. But that sort of classic one, it's not digital, it's a proper one done just like that. So that's quite nice. And it's in low vis, which makes a difference as well. Talking of low vis, clearly not for the rest of them. So as you can see down in here, we actually got a high-vis version of the Tomcatters. We got the gorgeous Blue Angel markings, which is sort of unusual for a kit, let's face it, because normally the aftermarket ones tend to grab that one. We've got a couple of low-vis ones down in here as well. So we've got VFA 105 as well in the low vis marking ones as well. And we've got VFA 192 as well, high-vis markings in there as well. So that's actually quite nice. And of course, we have got Top Gun Maverick. Okay, so obviously there was a couple of these aircraft that really were painted up in these colours. They're not CGI, they've used real aircraft, so that's quite nice. A couple of bits we can see down on here. So again, it looks like we've got the ESA radar system on this one. We've got, looks like a very good cockpit. We've got wing fold, which is obviously very nice indeed to see that. And what's taken my eye, to be honest, is this. It looks like we've got full length intakes with a full engine, which is something I wasn't expecting. Very nice gear as well, and it looks like that we can actually have the various catapult areas done as well. So we've got the strut there in the down position or retracted as well, so it can be hooked up to the shuttle. Very, very nice indeed. So running around on your box for this one, got your kit number 85812, and then down on here we can see a little bit more about it. So we've got some big old decal sheets by the looks of it to get this lot on. We have got some photo etch, and we've got very much a modern weapons set down in there as well. So basically we've got Sidewinder X's. Okay, so that's the very high off angle or off bore sight helmet mounted Sidewinder, and then obviously we've got HARM missiles, we've got the later and the newer type of the AMRAAMs as well, and then I think, you know, because of Top Gun Maverick down in here, we've got GBU-24, so that's what Maverick was carrying, and we've got Mirs and that, and then down here, this does look to me, stand corrected, it's actually got the buddy refueling pod as well, which is, well, fantastic. So if it does come with 4 tanks, then we can actually make this a refueler aircraft, which will be very nice to see. Anyway, enough waffling, let's get in the box and see what we've got. So, if I can get in. If I can get in. There we go, we're in. Usual thing, I have to say, Hobby Boss boxes, very much sorted. As you can see, we've got instructions, and we've got the obligatory sheet down in there. Okay, we've got separate sprues. I'm not going to get these out here, I think we'll leave it in the box and get them out. But as you can see, we've got a box absolutely stuffed. There's the buddy refueling thing, don't look too much. Oh, there's the main bits down there. It looks like we've got decals down in here. I will pull these up just for a moment so we can look first. That's all very nice. And then down in here, looks like we've got clear parts on the sides. We've got, obviously, the usual way they do all the Hornets. Hopefully we do, and we do. We get 4 types of fuel tanks. We've got the lower fuselage, looking good. So yes, very nice indeed. What I do, I'll pop that off to one side and we'll come back and look at those at the moment. Okay, so we don't need that because that's just talking about some other stuff that's on the way. So we've got a Ural truck by the look of it. Okay, and then down in here, it looks like we've got sheets. So that's our markings, which we'll look at in a moment. So starting off with on the old instructions, let's square that up. Okay, so see, there's your sprues, all nicely done. Okay, so starting off in this sort of standard pattern of it, we've got the cockpit. So this is the Echo single seat. We've got the Foxtrot, which is the 2-seat, which I imagine will be the next release to this particular one. But anyway, going through right there into this one, looks like we've got the photo etch is going to make up your harnesses, which is quite nice right the way through. We've got, which actually looks to be quite a nice ejector seat straight out the back. We've got the cockpit, we've got the side panels going in, which is quite nice. So that means they can be painted separate. And then we've got sidewalls being fitted down in there, and then obviously we've got decals which are making up some of your actual cockpit instruments and things like that. Okay, bottom wheel well system which goes through. We've got the pipe there, which is the in-flight refueling one, where it goes from the front to the back, I do believe, on those. Okay, cockpit tub being fitted to the nose well, which goes in, which is pretty much standard, and that looks nice. If that's what I think it is, the electronics bays, they're moulded in as well, which we'll look at that in a moment. Okay, then to be honest, like every other Hornet we've ever seen, it's pretty much the same type of thing. So you've got the underside down in here, you've got the lower plate going up, we've got the ladder, it does say option, so it looks like we're going to get a boarding ladder as well, and then the wings go underneath, pretty much standard to them all. Remembering to open up your wing holes as well, alright, so otherwise finding them can be a little bit of a pain. And then we've got this lower section going up in here. Okay, so it looks nice that they've got the front end running around in here. Hopefully that will be a nice fit, but again, time will tell on that actual one, and it's going to go in. All right, so it's slightly different to the Hasegawa one, where it's got a lower piece down in here, so that's quite a nice touch. Over on the other side, we've got the cockpit glass going in there. We've got the ESA radar system being fitted down in there as well, so it does look like we have a full radar, so that would be nice if we can have that opened up. Different types one, so we call it the pizza box. It used to be known as the bird shredder back in the day, but it's the IFF panel which goes on the top. Okay, on Hornets it's more like a box than the actual slicer one on there. Okay, forward glass being fitted down into there, pretty much standard, and then obviously allowing this rear area, we're expecting the actual Foxtrot to come along, would be the rear cockpit, but in this one we've got the plate going in and the guard as well onto there, onto that top area. Again, looks like we've got a modern one down here because we've got the ESA pipes on the back. Okay, so working our way down, we've got nice internal details into the glass work as well. We do have a positional nose, so we can have it open or closed, which is quite nice, as you can see down in there. Gun mantle being fitted down onto that, cockpit open or closed, and then we're down into this. So we do have full detailed engine, which I must admit I was not expecting at all. So that's really nice to see it. Hopefully we will be able to see it once it's in there. Okay, so there we go. We've got those ones going in, intakes, and standard to every other Hornet, back to the Charlie version of actually doing this, or even the Alpha. Okay, so those are being fitted down onto the side, and then we've got the wheel wells in there, and we've got the various little splitters in. Pretty standard. And then again, like we were saying, it does have full length intakes, which is very nice to see, and we've got full engine detail in there. Unfortunately, no, it looks like these lower panels which swing open to show the engine are closed, so you're not going to see the engine, and I don't know if you'll be able to take one out, because otherwise it will look a bit odd. So yeah, strange, but there we go. Okay, we do have some ribbing, various parts down in here as well, which are going to make up some more details into the actual wheel well, which is a nice touch. And then we can see this side, but as far as I'm aware, these panels are not removable on the Hornet. So these panels are going in the side, which is different to how other Hornets do it. Again, it'd be interesting to see how they line up with panel lines and various things. I think they will, but normally it goes around the slime line area, and it's like a step. This one is one piece in. You can see the engine, but as I said, as far as I'm aware, that it doesn't happen in real life, so you can't leave that panel off to be able to look at the engine. Okay, main gear going down in there as well, so obviously we've got landing lights, angle of attack lights and various things down in here as well, and then obviously we've got the extendable area on the front here as well, which goes down into the shuttle, and so that can be up or down deployed, which is nice. Main gear as well, pretty much standard going in there, although we do have this little bracket fitting in there. Okay, and then we've got various hoses and things being fitted down onto that one for the main gear, and they're going to go in, so both of those fitted down into there. And then same again with the actuators and things for the actual gear doors, they're all being fitted down in there, and the actuator for the nose gear, so pretty standard. Then, as you imagine, all gear doors going on, and this is actually a nice touch. So we'll look at it when we get on the plastic, but it looks like we have the electronics bays, both sides of those in the open position, which we'll talk about that in a moment. So again, nice to see all of those going in, and again the one on the other side, which is really nice as well. Okay, Flaps and slats, various things. Obviously, it looks like we've got molded, obviously in the up position, and then we're assuming in a moment we can put those all in, or we can do it in the down position, which we can. Again, folded as well, so we can have a folded up for those if you wanted to do it with the wings fold or not. Be interesting to see if you could do that as an option, as in you can pop it in and out. I'm not sure. Okay, and then obviously fitting those in, pretty standard. The pylons being fitted in there, just don't worry when they seem to be at a really weird angle. They're supposed to be like that. Okay, and then nozzles, again, another really nice touch. We've got both types of nozzles, so we've got open and closed down on there as well. This part's interesting. So you've got another part to the rear as a separate. I can't think why that would be. Not knowing the Echo and the Foxtrot as well as I do the Alpha and the Charlie, but yeah, there must be a reason they've done that as a separate. Anyway, angle of attack sensors, I think that's the HF aerial being fitted on the bottom. And then again, rudders, nice. So we got the actual blinker lights and the tail lights all being fitted down into their tails, so hopefully they can be positioned in the slightly drooped position for the powered down. And again, we've got a boarding ladder if you wanted to have it in the out position, which would be a nice touch if you got the actual outer doors open. Weapons fit, so we do. It says about making 2, so technically if you're going to be doing the tanker, you're going to want to do 4 for the wings, and then you're going to have the buddy pod underneath. Again, really nice touch with that, haven't seen that before. We've got the newer and the older types of the AIM-120 fitted down in there. Literally the only way you can tell is they've got a nick taken out of the tailplanes. It's got slightly smaller tailplanes on those. Then we got the pods. Okay, so we got the ASQ pod as well being fitted down into there. Then obviously GBU 10s, we got 12s, we got 24s, Mark 83 standards, although that looks a bit weird. Okay, and then we've got a MIA, multiple ejection rack down in there, and then we got the tier or the triple ejector rack, and then we got the standard Navy twin. Okay, and then obviously we got the rails as well for the wingtips, and we got twin launchers as well. That's actually really nice. You've got good options on this. And then we got your weapons loadout. I'm actually quite excited about this because it's got some really nice options we didn't see with the main one, so interesting. Okay, colour call out for obviously for all your weapons and buddy pods and your pylons, and obviously stencil data as well to go on those, pretty much standard. Stencil data, as I said, there's a lot, but it's not overbearing, it's not quite a phantom, but as you can see all of those down in there just like that, so that's quite nice. Then we've got our marking sheets, so these big old sheets. So start off with, obviously they transferred over to the Super Hornet recently. So that's the new Super Hornet markings, which I must admit is absolutely fantastic. And then again down in here we've got obviously Tomcat High Vis. I've done this in 48 and I've done it in 144. So if you go back you'll see that. Okay, and obviously the Top Gun markings. Yeah, again, this is just, yes. I have my own personal opinions on this one. I think it's the best scheme out anyway, but yep. And then obviously we've got the one down here from Theodore Roosevelt. So this is BFA 31 low vis as well. And then as I say, we've got the 105s as well in low vis, the Knights. So that's actually really nice. And then we've got the Golden Dragons down in there as well. VF 192 in the high vis. So again, some really very nice decal options, which is good because sometimes you just get a bit of an aft one and away you go. So speaking of decals, we will try and dive into here. Knifey. Okay. So as we can see, I have to do the chomp. Cut it off and then it's just there anyway. Right, okay. As you can see, actually they look very nice, very colourful. Felix looks great on there. So that's actually very, very nice decals. We move on closer, you can see just how nice these are. They look a little bit thick, but they got great colour. Good solid colour on all of these markings. All the stencil data looks nice. And to be honest, I'm quite a fan of these big ones down in here because the thing is you've got like the gun safety and all the various parts and trying to line all them up so it's easier to have it in one. We saw that with all the sort of Hornet family in Hasegawa days. Again, not sure about these from Instruments and all the rest of it, but it might be worth going with a nice 3D set from like Quinta or someone like that because they will be very nice to add to this particular kit. If you're having it open, then you're going to be able to see it. Okay, we've got the actual US Navy, and these ones you want to be thick. You don't want to have any translucence on this. So if these look a bit thick and glossy, you're going to be going over gloss anyway, so it doesn't matter. There's the Top Gun markings. There you go with Mav's 3 kills. What, has he killed 3 Hornets? Has he been doing other things since the first Top Gun? Could have sworn they were MiG-28s or F5s. Okay, as you can see, doesn't look too bad at all. I'm going to say the Top Gun marking here just looks a little bit washed out, if I'm honest. That doesn't look exactly brilliant. It just looks a little bit gritty and grainy. I'm sure there's a better one if you were planning on doing it in those markings. The rest of them actually look very nice indeed. Blue Angels one especially. Okay, last up, just down in here, we've got the stencil type data for the weapons. And actually that all looks pretty damn nice as well. Very nice. Can't fault any of that. Right, okay, so let's get to it. So that's just going to dive down the bottom, because the one everybody wants to see will be the top half. And to see how this stacks up against other manufacturers and things like that, it's always a good thing to have a look at this particular one. And to be honest, that doesn't look too bad at all. So these at the top here, these are the ejection ports, because this is a one piece out of it. So these you're going to need to sand off. And to be honest with you, unfortunately, as you can probably see, they are very, very close to the actual panel lines that run across on this one. But generally, I have to say, that's really very nice. It doesn't have that standard Hobby Boss texture. It's a lot more akin, if we're honest, to the sort of Meng one, the finish on that. The panel lines look very, very nice. The actual riveting looks very, very sharp. That all looks pretty darn good on there. I can't fault that at all. The ECS pipes on the back here actually look pretty nice as well. That must be quite complex to mould like that, because again, they don't go right the way down and in, so you're not going to be seeing daylight through them, but they look very nice and they are fully separate. So that looks very, very good indeed. Okay, so on the underside, really, there's nothing to see down in here because it's all on the top, but I have to say that does look very, very nice indeed. Some good detail down in there. And again, the Hornet is one of these crossover type aircraft, because technically it's not a, you know, like an older family of the Hornet, and it's not a stealth aircraft. So you are going to get rivets, you are going to get panel lines, you are going to get that type of thing in there. So, right, I'm just going to grab from the top and we'll work our way through and we'll see what we come up with at the end of this. So what I'm going to try and do is make some room. Okay, so first up, we've got over here, just looking for a sprue number on this one, I can't see it, C. So this is sprue C. Doesn't look too bad at all, to be honest. Good, sharp details. Okay, so if we have a closer look, you can see we've got some really nice details down on here. You know, these parts are actually moulded in one as well. It looks like a sink mark, but I don't think it is. I think it's just ghosting on the bottom here. But that's really nice indeed. So we've got the outers as well. We've got these intakes. Got the nose wheel bay down in there. Looks pretty darn good. We've got all the areas on this. To be honest, it all looks very, very nice. Inside, we don't have any ejector pins or anything down in here. These are these nose bays as well, with the arm hole in there with the class, so that's beautifully moulded as well. So that's these on the front, so that's looking very nice. Working our way up for the tail planes, which there shouldn't be any on, and again, it looks like there's a sink mark, but a lot of that is catching it in the light. There isn't any, it is absolutely fine. So that's pretty darn good. Okay, and then over here we've got the nose, looks quite good. We've got the door, various parts, and again, it all looks very, very nice. Very clean, very, very sharp. Okay, then we've got the down in here. We've got the underside, we've got the intakes and all the rest of it, so that doesn't look too bad. So this is sprue B, and again, good, clean, sharp. Plastic's still a little bit soft, but it's not the hard stuff, but it's definitely not the soft stuff either. So as you can see over here, we've got that intake. We've got the actual sides of the nose wheels here, and again, some nice boxes and things going on there. We've got all the riveting and panel lines underneath. We've got raised detail as well as recessed on there as well, so that's quite nice. We've got the doors, we've got those actuators, we've got the big flaps at the back, we've got the body underneath the nose for the lyric system or the leading edge extensions. So that's all very nice and down in there. The vents all look pretty darn good. The intakes are not seamless. So unfortunately we have got a whacking great pin mark. And I'll tell you what, that's a real disappointment because I was getting really onto this. There isn't one down in here, but this is at the front. So if you're going to see it, it's going to be at the front. I think we'd rather have it down the back. The only godsend to this is it's on the flat part of the exhaust. So this flat part, the great thing about it is you can just sand here and it's not like it's in a curve, you're going to cause damage. So maybe they were thinking about it. Maybe I'll make an excuse for it. Okay, but there we go. So open up those holes, don't forget them. You'll be absolutely fine. But again, very nice indeed. Okay, so in here we've got a bag and I can see some pylons poking through, but it is protected and I'm wondering what it is protecting. I'm thinking I won't cut it. Ooh, there we go. Make a hash of that. Oh, I see what they've done. Right, okay. So down in here we've got a match pair, I think. So what we can do is we'll just go like that. We can go like that. And there we go. So this is a twin pair, which sort of explains it because we've got the pylons, the engines, and the various pods and things on here, which there's two of. We've got the exhausts and things like that. So that actually doesn't look too bad. So you've got your seat. Again, plenty of detail on that seat. And I think by the time you kind of come along with your aftermarket bits on there, you'll be absolutely fine. Okay, so we've got the engines. We've got the actual strapping around the engines itself. We've got the wheels, but unfortunately it doesn't look like we get any weight on wheels. Okay, the various things. We've got the nozzles. So we've got both nozzles open and closed, which we'll flip it over in a moment. We've got the main gear, again, no weight on wheels. Okay, and then we've got the pylons, the big ones and the small ones, and we've got like the flame holder there for the afterburner and the various parts in there, as you might imagine. So the all-important inside the engine things, obviously you don't see this far up, so there's nothing to see down in there, but these ones you will, and there is no ejector pins, as you can see in this part, apart from you are going to have the seam lines running down on here. Okay, the nozzles as well look pretty darn good, and hopefully you can see down in there we've got those little details that you actually see with the white ceramics. Okay, so that's actually quite a nice touch as well with those down on the inside of that. You can see those all the way around. And then that nozzle. It's actually very nice indeed. Okay, so fuselage halves. This is the point I wanted to see. So the reason I got a little bit excited over this is because normally you get electronics bays on aircraft and things like that, but they're never open, especially if you've got your aircraft armed and you've got the crew stepping out to it and perhaps you've got removable flight tags and stuff like that. Only certain panels will be open. The only two, as far as I'm aware, on a Hornet are these two. So somebody's obviously done their homework here. So normally when the crew are stepping out, the big thing is they're looking at these panels, they're looking at these two down in here, and they're checking all the circuit breakers are all in and everything is all set correctly. So you often see crews putting their hand across. That's what they're doing. So in some ways, if you are doing it powered down, looks like you're ready for the crew to step out, you probably would have these either open fully or you just have them undone. So obviously the crew, they'll have to check it, they'll lock it once they're happy with it before they step up to the actual, get into the actual aircraft. But anyway, very nice job, as you can see. Complex moulding on those, and that's actually not too bad at all. There is no gap running in here, although I'm sure there is in real life, so unfortunately that bit's been deferred. Okay, outer pylon. So this is the hole for the actuators to go down through those top parts, and then obviously down on here we've got all the various antennas on the back and various areas. Got the ghoulie strips and in there, and again these panels, very nice indeed. And again, a real welcome touch. I must admit, harping back to Hasegawa days, it was nice on the Corsair that had theirs open on their A7. It's just a nice little detail that added to the kit straight out of the box. So again, very happy with these. Obviously there's nothing to see on the inside of anything on these. The ejector bins are here, but they're all slightly raised, but they're well and truly out of the way. So that's absolutely fine. Okay, so next up, we've got weapons. So again, we've got a matched pair here, so we'll just look at one. So again, there's no real reason weapons should be wrong this day and age. And those all look, to be honest, pretty nice. No problem with those at all. To be honest, on the instructions they looked a bit odd. But we got J-dams down in here. And obviously we've got the penetrator, obviously going to be made famous now by the film, but yeah, very nice indeed. That all looks pretty standard. Okay, so next up we've got the gear. Okay, so all the small parts on here, and we have to say this is something that Hobby Boss are really getting good at. Look how small the actual locating parts are. The actual gates, the sprue gates, very small, very tiny little parts on these. For the gear, this is obviously, these plates are the actual parts that go in to make up the strength. So this is wings out in the actual, not in the folded position. So we've got all the parts, the internals, we've got the, sort of the grills, we've got the outer parts of the actual leading edge of the wings. The main gear itself looks pretty darn nice. The nose gear as well. We've got the actuators down and up and everywhere else as in between, as you can imagine on this one. Lots of little parts down in here. This is the wing fold in the folded position, so it'll be 90 degrees or so. Nicely done. So yeah, very nice. And these slats, it's really nice, got the tiny little lip on it as well. Nice detail. Very, very nice. Okay, so this little guy down in here is going to be another, we're thinking, a dual. So what we'll do is we'll just look at one. Okay, so this is our buddy pod, which I haven't seen one before, and I would have given my right teeth to stick these on before, so it's nice that it's got straight in the kit. We've got harm missiles down in here. Okay, so we've got GBU 12s. We've got the mirrors, tiers, and everything in between, so that's actually very nice indeed. And the sidewinders, this is the X-ray version, Sidewinder X, look very nice indeed. To be honest, it all looks very, very good, very sharp, very crisp. Something new going on here. It's not your standard Hobby Boss, shall we say. Okay, so down in here. So what we've got here is some of the parts. So we've got the cockpit detail as well. So as you can see on the bottom here, we've got the actual instrument panel. This is the panels for the end, and the slime lines are actually recessed in, which I actually thought was slightly raised, but they've done as was recessed. So that's these tiny little areas. Can't really catch it in the light because these look like a matte finish. This is obviously specific to the aircraft. So we've got the slats, forward slats. These are the main parts of it. We've got the wingtip. These are the rails, the extra rails for the twins. This is that part for down on the spine as well. And again, this is the hole going through, and it's got quite a chunky, beefy part as well to pop that through. So it's got plenty of surface on that as well. These tiny little guys here is what goes on the wingtips. And these slime lines, so you can see them, are above and below the actual wingtip pylon that runs along that as well. So that's actually quite nice. Okay, so what we'll do, pop that in there. Right, okay, so I don't think we need to get these out because they're pretty much standard. So down here we've got 4 fuel tanks. This is exactly what we want. Okay. And then this is kit specific, obviously, because it's the single seat cockpit. And again, it has got all the details already in here, and that's very nice, and it's sharp. This is your canopy areas. Got a couple of actuators down here. The rear part, obviously that would be taken up with the cockpit on the other one, and then this guy down in here. This is your actuator area for the canopy going up, and the bars for that. That's pretty good, strong all the way through. But that cockpit actually doesn't look like it. You'd be better off, I think, dry brushing that and painting that up by hand than you would be coming along with those decals and putting it on, or wait for the aftermarket. As I say, Quinta, who are my latest and greatest find, I'm sure they will do a set for this and it will look amazing. Okay, last up we've really got is the base, and again there's not a lot going under here, but what is all beautifully done. And it's got raised and recessed details all the way under here. And what's nice is that it's not molded in one. So we've got all the details down in here. And by the time you put in that sort of bracing into the wheel well and everything, it'll look great. And again, we've got good, solid, chunky areas for installing that gear into that one. We've got the chaff and flare buckets down under here as well, so they're already moulded in and all ready to go. So that's quite nice. Okay, okay, a couple of bits. So we've got the hose for the refueling hose, make of it what you will, and then down in there, as you can see, we've got the photo etch for the actual harnesses and a couple of other little bits down in there. So we've got for the HUD and some little grill as well that goes down behind the nose door. Okay, so that's okay. And then last up we have in here, and this is the make or break bit, we have the canopy. So I'm hoping this is the nose canopy here. Okay, so that's actually looking pretty darn good. It's a complex shape, but it looks a little bit wobbly, which is a shame. But again, it's one of those things, when there's things in there and like a HUD and all the rest of it, I'm sure it'll be absolutely fine. Okay, and then obviously we've got HUD glass over here, nav lights, tail lights, nose wheel, the usual suspects as you might imagine. So the chance of this going back in is very good if it would sit here. Okay, main rear canopy. Hoping it's a little bit clearer if we're honest. Oh, what did I just see then? Something that, to be honest, is a little bit wobbly. And you can see there's like a, you see in the middle there, right there. What is that? Mine's got a weird one. It's like a drip mark in the middle. Now, you can't see it when you look there, but when you catch it going over here, see that little drip mark? So we're talking about this guy right here. When we go across, you watch. It looks like a drip mark in it, but it caught my eye as soon as I took it out of the bag. I'll be honest with you, that's a little bit disappointing because that's a little bit lumpy bumpy. Yeah, it looks like the canopy's been dipped badly. And I don't know if re-dipping it's going to make any difference. But unfortunately, that's a little bit of a disappointment there. It's just a little bit too bleh. But if you have got it in the up position, then I'm sure you'll be absolutely fine. Let me get this back in here. Somewhat. Okay. So, there you have it. Am I impressed? Actually, I am. I wasn't expecting half of what I've just seen. I wasn't expecting to have the actual the base, the electronics base on this kit. Never thought I'd see that for a minute. Didn't think I'd see it with the buddy pod either, so it's got the buddy pod in there. It's got a great section of weapons down into this one. The surface detail looks to be as probably much on a par with anything Meng could do. So that is actually a thing, because the Meng one was my go-to kit. Really nice with the wing fold options. This thing down the back here, I'd like to build it just to know if it works or not. It's a different way. I've never seen a Hornet done that way before, but again, it'll be interesting to see put it together. It's nice that we get the radar as well. So we've got the brand new radar up at the front. The cockpit, to be honest, doesn't look too bad either right the way through. Options, obviously, pretty much like everybody else's, flaps and slaps and all deployed and all the rest of it, as you'd expect. But right out of the box, I have to say, you've got what I think would be the best looking Hornet for having it all open as if you're ready for the crew to step out. What I've got down in here is both kits, so we can have a look at the detail on these. And again, this is where it sort of caught my eye on this one, because they're very similar. Don't get me wrong, they look pretty close, don't they? There's not a lot going down in here, but when you're looking at them, in theory they should be absolutely identical, but there is some subtle changes to this one. So the subtle change that caught my eye on this one is, and I'm not sure which one's correct, but is this lining area down in here. This one on this is, to be honest, the lighter color is the Hobby Boss kit. It looks like it's a little bit more smooth, whereas on this guy it's definitely a little bit more sharper. Okay, so on that. But surface detail, if we have a look a little bit closer, we do a side by side. As you can see, this is the areas we are talking about here, is this one down in here versus this one. Okay, but when you're looking at it, again, forget the colour of the plastic because it's very thingy, but there's not a lot in it. I think you'll agree. If anything, the Hobby Boss one looks like the panel lining is a little bit finer. Now, this could be the colour, but obviously what I'm looking at here is this panel line down in here versus this one over here. The Hobby Boss, which is technically on your right as you're looking at it, looks finer than the Meng one down below. The Meng panel lines look a little bit more heavy. Okay, so again, but the riveting, I think on the Meng one is a little bit nicer. So it is a case of taking your look at it of which way you want to do. And if we do the overlap, you'll see some subtle changes. Like this one doesn't have the tooth mark out of the rear where the other one does. Again, ECS pipes and things down the back here, it's very difficult to see, but definitely I think the Hobby Boss one has a finer panel line, but the riveting just looks like a little bit heavier. But all the details are pretty much like for like on this. I can't see any mass differences. They all look to be pretty good right the way through. The only other thing as well, I'm always intrigued that they don't have the speed brake that is deployed. It's always moulded shut. And I know it's probably moulded shut 90% of the time, but yeah. And again, at the front, slightly different way of doing it. Underneath wise, as you can see, the only nice thing I think with the main kit is you've got these huge big locating areas which will then give you very nice fittings. But don't think this no slouch has got them as well, it's just they're a lot finer right the way through. So yeah, to be honest with you, when I started this review I thought this was going to be a case of this will be an option, a lesser option to the main kit. After doing this, I have to say I think I prefer the Hobby Boss one. If I was going to build one, and to be honest, I am building one, I'm going to build the Hobby Boss one now purely because I like the idea of having the panels open. I like the idea with the radar at the front, some of the little details on this one right the way through, even over the main kit. Even though the main kit probably is a little bit more crisper, shall we say, and stuff like that, but I think the panel lining is definitely finer on the Hobby Boss one over on the main one. But again, horses for courses, personal choice, you might think differently. Anyway, there we go. That is the Hobby Bosses. Very good, I have to say. I'm very impressed. 1/48 scale F-18E or Echo Super Hornet.